Okay.
Yes, we are broadcasting live video too.
Okay, and a third question is, as I understand, we're celebrating anniversary of Panca Tattva's appearance.
Broadcasting.
Yes. I didn't hear an answer for that.
Can you repeat the question? Because
Yeah. The question is, are we celebrating today an anniversary of Shishi Pancha Tattva's installation?
this is my understanding, but
Okay.
whether it is today or tomorrow, I'm not sure.
Oh,
It's
I
probably
see.
today. I will check on the
That's
schedule.
okay, today or tomorrow. And then how many years has it been?
That's a good question. Oh, gosh, I'm not sure.
It was in 1991.
91. Oh, okay. So that means 29 years. Okay, nice. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'm happy for this opportunity to celebrate with devotees in Nowe Śantipur from a distance. And I'm happy that others are joining from different parts of the world. One of the advantages of this medium. And I like to be in Nowe Śantipur. It's a very special place. I've been there several times in the past, and have had the fortune of having darshan of Shishi Panca Tattva there over the years. I like to express appreciation for the devotees of Nowe Śantipur, present and also past, and we can say future, why not, who have been serving their lordships through all the different times and the different challenges of Nowe Śantipur. It's not easy to serve there, I know, especially the weather conditions. It's a very long and cold winter, but it's the place of the Lord. Nowe Śantipur is Shanti. And it's Nowe Śantipur, which associates with Advaita Acharya. And of course, Advaita Acharya, we know, we credit him. Krishnadas Kaviraj gives him credit for bringing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to this world. We want to, of course, also remember all the devotees who have made it even possible that we practice Krishna consciousness. First and foremost, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who dared to bring Krishna consciousness to the Western world despite all obstacles, personal obstacles and cultural obstacles and historical obstacles. Despite everything, he was wonderfully successful in bringing Caitanya Mahaprabhu and the Panca Tattva, the truth, the five truths of the Panca Tattva to all of us and to many more yet to come. So I thought we can begin by reading these verses from Caitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Lila chapter 7, texts 20 and 21. First we can chant as an invocation, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So verse 20 and 21 of chapter 7, Adi Lila. She Panca Tattva Mili Prithvi Asya Purva Prema Bandarer Mudra Ugadia Panche Mili Lutte Prema Kare Ashvadana Jata Jata Piye Krishna Badhe Anukan. I'll do this. I'll read it one more time. She Panca Tattva Mili Prithvi Asya Purva Prema Bandarer Mudra Ugadia Panche Mili Lutte Prema Kare Ashvadana Jata Jata Piye Krishna Badhe Anukshana. And the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the characteristics of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came with Krishna when he was present, it was sealed. But when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu came with his associates, the Panca Tattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. And Srila Prabhupada's short purport, he says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called Mahavadanyavatar because although he is Sri Krishna himself, he is even more favorably disposed to the poor fallen souls than Lord Sri Krishna. When Lord Sri Krishna himself was personally present, he demanded that everyone surrender unto him and promised that he would then give one all protection. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this earth with his associates, he simply distributed transcendental love of God without discrimination. Sri Rupa Goswami therefore could understand that Lord Chaitanya was none other than Sri Krishna himself, for no one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead can distribute confidential love of the Supreme Person. And so ends Srila Prabhupada's purport. I find these verses very memorable, especially the way Krishnadas speaks of how the Panca Tattva spread Krishna consciousness in what could be considered a transgressive way. He says they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The first verse explains that this storehouse has been brought by Lord Krishna, but there's a problem in his bringing the storehouse. He left it sealed. And we may be surprised to hear this. How do we understand that he left it sealed? We see how Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan especially are an ocean of prema, and the residents of Vrindavan are swimming and drowning in that ocean and so on. But the the point is made by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. How is it understood? Excuse me. How is it understood that the storehouse is sealed? It's understood by taking Krishna's instruction in Bhagavad Gita, in which he expresses conditionality when he says Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. He makes a demand. ahang tvang sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. I will deliver you, don't worry. Yes, but we might still be worried because are we capable of doing what Krishna demands? First, he sets a kind of precondition to his central demand, we may say, when he says sarva dharman parityaja, having given up all, as Prabhupada said at least in one lecture, he said, give up all your nonsense. Dharma. We don't think of Dharma as nonsense, but Prabhupada says what Krishna's meaning there is give up your nonsense Dharma, your concocted idea. Whatever you think is good, whatever you think makes you so righteous, makes you self-righteous. And who doesn't think that they are good? We all, everyone, even the most horrible people, even the most demonic people, they think they're very good. So Sarvadharman Prityaja, having put all of that away, having set it aside, having given it up, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. And then Krishna makes this demand, Vraja, it's a command, go to my shelter. And it turns out it's a rather high, it's what we call in English a tall order to surrender to Krishna. It's a big demand. So this is the sealed treasure, the prema bandhar, which has been sealed. The word mudra is seal. Let's see, let me just ask if Madai Jivan could come and close my door so that I don't hear the echo of my own voice. Yes, good. Yeah, Purva Prema Bandharer Mudra, and the seal, like in olden times, we don't see it so much today, but you would write a letter, and believe it or not, you would write it by hand, and maybe you would use a pen that was a feather, a bird feather, and with some kind of homemade ink, perhaps. And then you would put it into an envelope, which maybe you also made, and you would close the end of the envelope, and then you would seal it, and you would seal it with wax, which would become hard. You would melt the wax and drip it onto the envelope, and then maybe also you had a stamp, which would an impression with your name or your family name or something on that. So, and then it would cool and become hard. They have this, this is popular in China, actually. You have a stamp. So, so Krishna came, he delivered the letter, he gave us the letter, he gave us everything, but it was sealed. And then, of course, Krishna knows what he's going to be doing in the future because Krishna knows past, present, and future. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani chabutani mam tu veda na kaschana. I know past, present, future. You, Arjuna, are forgetful. Krishna knows the future, so he knows that he's going to come as Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj describes how Krishna thinks about, he reflects about why he should come. And that's a great deal of his elaboration, especially in chapter 4 of Adi Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas's elaboration, his commentary on the first 14 verses, the invocation verses of the first chapter, the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita. The first through sixth chapters of Adi Lila are giving a purport to those first 14 verses. And within the fourth chapter, where he's elaborating on the purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, and he's explaining his internal purpose, namely to take on, to adopt, to become, in effect, Srimati Radharani, to absorb himself in her mood. In that explanation, he explains that Krishna is thinking about his own sense of incompleteness, his own sense of inability, incapacity to experience the love which Srimati Radharani has for him. And therefore, he needs to take her position, and for that, he needs to appear in this world. Now, you may say, but why does he have to appear in this world for that purpose? And we can say that he has to appear in this world for that purpose because to fully experience that purpose, he needs to experience the feeling of compassion that Srimati Radharani has. And therefore, and that compassion is exercised, it's manifest where it's most needed. In Vrindavan, we can say that, as I said, Krishna is enjoying pastimes with his associates, relishing the ocean of Krishna prema with them. But there's no problem. All the associates, the reason they're his associates are because of who they are and because of their total and complete love of Krishna. So there it's not a problem. Therefore, Krishna comes to this world as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And here, he's not going to do this activity of sharing Krishna consciousness alone. That would be another incompleteness, and therefore he comes with his associates. Now, I think it's time to do some screen sharing. Yes, okay. Now, let's make this full screen. See if this works. Yes, okay. Shri Shri Panca Tattva Ki Jai. These are Panca Tattva of Nowe Śantipur. Brihaspati sent me the photo of their lordships of today, but I didn't manage to get today's image on, but there they are. And yeah, I put together a few photos of Panca Tattva in different images, different representations, so we can look at some of these, and we can, in due course, perhaps partially mix in some reflections and some discussion. So this will be a little bit multimedia, so to say. So now we go very suddenly to Shridham Mayapur to see Shishi Panca Tattva here. Shishi Panca Tattva ki jai, Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Now, in this photo, we do not see how large the deities are. And I want to say that even if you are in the temple room of the Mayapur Chandradoya Mandir and looking at the deities, you may not fully appreciate how large they are. But when you go on the altar, and I've only been, I must admit, twice directly on the altar for the Maha Abhishek on two occasions, but then you really see how large they are and how powerful they are. One feels especially how powerful and how merciful they are. So, of course, as we all know, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is in the middle. In the song, in the Gora Arati song of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the Panca Tattva are described with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seated with Nityananda Prabhu on his right, and then further to his right, Advaita Acharya, Sri Gadadhar Pandit to his left, and then further to his left, Srivas Thakur. And of course, we glorify them in the Panca Tattva mantra. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. And the Srivas Adi means beginning with Srivas. And so it's the Panca Tattva and all the other associates of the Lord are recognized. Here we jump to Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach is southeast of Los Angeles. It's a temple I've never visited, but I used to visit Laguna Beach as a kid. We used to drive down there from Fullerton and sort of hang out. But Laguna Beach is it's a place where a lot of young people live and come together, and it's a bit of a there's a youth culture there, American California youth culture. And it's apparently a quite lively community of devotees there as well. So Shri Panca Tattva are blessing the devotees there. One other Panca Tattva altar I found, of course, one finds all these images on the internet, in Swansea, in Wales, in the UK. This image, this is a bas relief image, which has been produced in Hungary at New Vrajadam. And I don't know if they still have these available, but they were producing and making available, selling for temples, with the idea that Srila Prabhupada encouraged that when when establishing a preaching center, before having three-dimensional deities, it's very good to have a picture, two-dimensional picture of the Panca Tattva. And so here, the devotees in Hungary, Shivaram Swami and others, they thought, well, how about if we have not exactly deities fully three-dimensional, but still semi-three-dimensional in the form of what in English we call bas relief. So that's what we have here. And of course, here the image is of all their lordships very much in Sankirtan, dancing in great ecstasy. Okay, now a little bit of technical discussion to put some variety here. This was something I put together some time ago, some years ago, as one way of thinking about the tattvas of the Panca Tattva. I think it's good to be aware, first of all, that the concept of Panca Tattva originates with Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar was one of the most intimate associates of Caitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. And it is he who first gave expression to this idea of Panca Tattva and identified the members. And then Srila Kavi Karnapura took up this idea, this vision, we can say, this realization of Swarup Damodar, or Damodar Swarup, he's sometimes called, and refers to this in his writings, in, I believe, in his Gaura Ganodesha Deepika. And then it is Krishnadas Kaviraj who wrote after Kavi Karnapura, Krishnadas Kaviraj wrote his Chaitanya Charitamrita. He adopted the vision of the Panca Tattva, and in some respects we can say he expanded it. And in particular, this appreciation of how the Panca Tattva have shared Krishna Prema, as we read in these verses, Panche mili lute prema kore ashvadan, jotta jotta piye Krishna bade anukan. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his associates of the Panca Tattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. Incidentally, the word lute in Bengali, luta, from this we get the English word to loot. And looting is something which in recent days and weeks has come into the news, especially in America, because there have been these riots going on as a result of terrible things happening with respect to racial tension, which persists in America. And as a kind of sideshow, I don't know, of these riots, in some places there have been breaking into shops and what is called looting. Looting specifically means plundering, taking things from the shops. So I find it very interesting that this word is used by Krishnadas Kaviraj, considering the associations one might have today, at least in America, with looting. But of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj uses it in an entirely positive sense. They are transgressing the boundaries, the ordinary boundaries of human social life for the purpose of giving that which makes human life have its meaning. They're giving Krishna prema. So here in this chart, we can appreciate something of the relationships, and so much could be said about this, but we have, of course, Radha and Krishna, who are, in sort of abstract terms, we may express as Shaktiman being Krishna and Shakti being Radha. And of course, they are Bhagavan, and Radha represents collectively the bhaktas, the devotees. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually his full sannyas named Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and then he came to be known as Mahaprabhu, is Krishna himself, but he is in the mood of Radha. So he straddles, he is inclusive of both Shakti, Man, and Shakti. He is both Bhagavan and Bhaktas. He is both Krishna and Radha. Then Nityananda Prabhu as the first expansion of Krishna, or I should say Balaram, the first expansion of Krishna, becomes Nityananda. Brajendra Nandana Jay Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se, Balaram Hoilo Nitai. Nitai, of course, the affectionate name for Nityananda, Nimai, Nitai, Gadai. And then Advaita Acharya, of course, is a further expansion, being an expansion of Mahavishnu and simultaneously Sadashiva, it's understood. And so he and Nityananda, we can say in particular, participate in the tattva of Krishna. And on the other side, we have Gadadhar Pandit, who is the Shakti tattva, in the verse, Panca Tattva Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram. This is referring to Caitanya, Nityananda, Advaita. Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam, or Bhakti Shaktikam. Bhakta Akyam, one who is called Akyam or known as Bhakta, refers to Srivas Thakur, as I understand, and Gadadhar, who represents the Shakti, the internal potency, the Svarupa Shakti, as opposed to Shivas, who represents the Tatastha Shakti of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, represents or embodies. But Shivas Thakur, of course, it's Shivas Adi, it's beginning with Shivas, and therefore we have Gaura Bhakta Vrinda represented here by the circle around Radha and Krishna. So the Gaura Bhakta Vrinda surround their lordships, Radha and Krishna, and they are brought together into the circle of Krishna Prema by the Panca Tattva. And the Panca Tattva are all interwoven with each other in their multiple rasas, their multiple relationships. So Nityananda Prabhu with Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they have their relationship, we can say essentially Sakya Rasa, Sakya Bhava. Advaita Acharya with Caitanya Mahaprabhu is, we can say, dominated by Dasya Rasa. That's what Advaita Acharya insisted on when he intentionally made trouble by reciting or discussing the Yoga Vasishta with his followers, making Caitanya Mahaprabhu angry, and thus positioning himself as the servant of Advaita Acharya. And then Gadadhar Pandit is, of course, in the Madhurya relationship with Caitanya Mahaprabhu. But that is a very confidential subject, and Krishnadas Kaviraj mysteriously does not identify Gadadhar as Radha in Chaitanya Charitamrita, although he is identified as such by Saurabh Damodar, and that subject is very special. Srivas Thakur, Srivas Thakur's relationship, in some sense, we can say, is that of Vatsalya, because Srivas Thakur, like Advaitacharya, is elder, and Srivas Thakur hosts Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates at Srivas Angan for the beginnings of the celebration of Sankirtan, the beginnings of the breaking, the plundering of the storehouse of love of God. Also, however, and this I just read yesterday, it's very interesting, Srivas Thakur is also identified as Madhu Mangal in Krishna Lila. And Madhu Mangal, of course, is a friend of Krishna, but he's particularly engaged in helping Radha and Krishna to come together in his uniquely humorous way. This is a poster of Panca Tattva. We've probably all seen, and I believe this is the work from which the very first Panca Tattva painted by Jadurani in New York, Jadurani Devidasi, Shamarani as she's known now, was painted. And I believe that is her first painting. And we find others in Bengal especially. They all seem to like to have the Panca Tattva standing on these lotus flowers. I find this one interesting in that we see Gadadhar Pandit offering betel to Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So expressing that madhurya mood, which he otherwise is, we may say, kind of forced to hide. It's been pointed out that Gadadhar was refused by Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He was not allowed to come with him when Mahaprabhu was intending to go to Vrindavan. This Panca Tattva is reminding us perhaps of me at the moment with the mango tree on the left of Mahaprabhu's celebration of Sankirtan with his friends in Navadvip Dham. Which part? It's, I'm forgetting the particular dvipa in which they celebrate, and Mahaprabhu plants a seed and immediately grows this mango tree, providing mangoes immediately to refreshen all the devotees. This image, again on the internet, unfortunately, the feet are cut off in this particular one. Here, I was struck by the hand position of Nityananda Prabhu, kind of, I don't know, sort of holding his hands almost together like he's about to offer obeisance. And then Advaitacharya pointing upward as if he's saying to Caitanya Mahaprabhu, you have come from the spiritual world. And perhaps he's also saying, as Krishnadas Kaviraj tells us, and it is now time for you to return. You have fulfilled your mission. Whether that's the intention of the artist, I don't know. This image, I believe, is in the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in this very interesting Orient style. Again, Advaitacharya is pointing upward. This would be something I would need to ask more about. Perhaps someone knows the specific significance of the pointing up. And then we see some images where the Panca Tattva are presented in a mandala. And I wanted to mention that I made an attempt some years ago to express also a sort of mandala. I called it a mandala of positions as a way of representing Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu relates with different groups of persons, of different Vaishnava groups, different Brahminical groups, and then further extended other types of persons, how Caitanya Mahaprabhu preaches. And in that mandala, I represent just Caitanya Mahaprabhu in the center, but we could expand out, so to say, to see how in that center of what I've portrayed, this mandala would be fitting. In other words, if we take this mandala, then we can extend the mandala further and further out according to the different groups that Mahaprabhu connects with in various ways, all the way out to the Buddhists and the Mlechas, the Yavanas, and so on. Here, though, the mandala is showing various devotees, and unfortunately, the script is a bit unclear, so it's difficult to read the writing that's identifying who is who, Bengali script. And I found this one also. This looks like a kind of comic book style from early 20th century, perhaps. And this one I like. I don't know where this is located, where the original is, but this image reminds me of some images one can see, iconography from the Buddhist tradition, where you'll see Lord Buddha is sitting and preaching, and then he has all of his followers that are all sitting in lines and they're all listening. Of course, here it's Caitanya Mahaprabhu with his associates, the Panca Tattva. They're all facing the others. And then presumably on the left are the six Goswamis, or no, directly in front would be in the middle with the Goswamis, and yeah, various other groups of associates, including, I don't know who that is on the bottom far left in the Kopins. I suspect that would be Haridas Thakur. And we get some modern expression of here just Gaur Nitai. On the left is identified Shyam Priya. I don't know. On the right is Satsvarup Das Goswami. He has been quite active in his painting. He refers to his painting as, at least one time he said it's kind of therapeutic for him. He likes to express in graphic art, and I find it very charming how he does so. Let's see, there's a message here. I don't know if we should stop at 9 o'clock. There's probably a schedule at Nowe Śantipur, and I don't know. I'll just show quickly the remaining pictures I collected here, if I may. Yes, Advaita Acharya, of course, we like to remember his invoking the Lord, calling the Lord from Goloka Vrindavan. And I think it's interesting that he has done this addressing the Lord in the form of Shalagram Shila, who is understood to be Narayana specifically. This style I find very striking. And here we have Gadadhar Pandit on the left reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and Caitanya Mahaprabhu is listening to with Nityananda Prabhu and the other Vaishnavas. Very charming image. This is a rather rough image, but this is Tota Gopinath and his associates. And I've put this here just in appreciation of Gadadhar Pandit's the order of Mahaprabhu, that he remain as a Kshetra sannyasi in Jagannath Puri. This was the reason that Caitanya Mahaprabhu gave, that he must stay there, that he has made a vow, he should not break this vow. And so he continued serving Tota Gopinath. But as we may know, as Gadadhar Pandit became elderly, it became more difficult for him to serve this very large deity, to dress him, to put a garland over him. And so we are told that Tota Gopinath sat down. Excuse me. He sat down so that he could continue serving him. And what's more, it is said, there are different versions, but of the disappearance of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, but it's said that he entered into Tota Gopinath, which is very interesting. Oh, I should look at this message. Let's see. Okay, we can go on for a few minutes longer. Thank you. Oh, it's Amragat, where Mahaprabhu planted the mango seed. Yes, Amragat. Which dvipa is that in? Sugopi may know. Okay, let's go on. Shiva's Angan, of course. This is where the plundering began, you can say. And I appreciate this painting of the kirtan that's going on in Shiva's Angan. It looks like Nityananda Prabhu is about to take wing and fly away. And in this case, Caitanya Mahaprabhu is standing to the right and observing, it seems. Yeah. And this is a jolly kind of image. I think it would be interesting to see devotees performing a dance which would have this kind of style. It looks like Mahaprabhu is bending his knees in a particular way, perhaps also bending down. So that would be interesting to see. Notice also the mridanga on the left, several mridangas. They're quite long and narrow, suggesting to me the Manipuri style. So I don't know if this is a Manipuri painting. And this again looks like early 20th century, possibly late 19th century style with the flags. And here I appreciate also that the painter has represented devotees as real, we can say, Indians, not Westerners. So with a distinctively darker skin. And strikingly, though, Mahaprabhu is not represented in such golden form or golden complexion. And then also unusual, I don't know, maybe this image is reversed, but Advaita Acharya with quite a long beard on the right. That has been something of a controversy whether Advaita Acharya should or should not be represented with a beard. And this is an ISKCON painting. Perhaps someone remembers who is the painter here. I don't remember. This is quite a different style. This looks like, I've forgotten the name of the Western style of painting. No, it's not coming to mind, but an illustrative style with some sort of, looks like a Turkish vessel here. And then there are puppets being made of Panca Tattva. And there are little wooden images made of Panca Tattva. So in this way, we can say the Lord is appearing now with his associates in so many places, and they are spreading and plundering the storehouse. They are continuing to plunder the storehouse of love of Godhead through their followers and their followers' followers. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gora Bhaktarinda Panca Tattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Svarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Nitai Gaur Premanande Haribo. So I will stop there. And thank you all for joining, and all best wishes to the devotees present at Nowe Śantipur for your festival. I believe Mahaprabhu is there with you, so you will certainly be having wonderful kirtans, and we'll have to participate from a distance. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Maharaj, it's in Godrumadweep. I just
Godrumadweep.
wrote, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Maharaj, for your lecture. And thank you very much, everybody, for participation. Hare Krishna.